In SBS 112, we were introduced to what a Dosundata is. A Dosundata is a half human, half dwarf. With that being said, too, we were also introduced to what a Zeusing is, which is a very rare subspecies of giant, in which is a dwarf and giant mixed together. With that being said, the relationship of these three flavors of dwarf have to do with the sounds of footsteps. So Tontata have the cute footsteps, so they're the smallest. You turn the volume up, you get Dosundata, who have slightly heavier footsteps, and lastly, you get Zeus and Dodo, who have the heaviest footsteps because they're half giants. With that being said, we've seen this in One Piece before with Fuji Taurus fruit, which is called the Zusi no Mi, which is also called the Press fruit in English. But Zusi is the sound of heavy footsteps, so that makes sense. Now, with that being said, something very interesting to point out. One, we have seen a Dosundata presumably before, in that of Charlotte Normandy of the Charlotte family / Big Mom Pirates. But upon being introduced to what a Dosundata and a Zeus and Dodo are, we can point out something very interesting. So, this continues the tradition of sub-giants being called something else. They get their own unique name. This is presumably the case with buccaneers. This is the case with wontons, which are fishman and giant mixed together. And this is now the case with dwarf and giant mixed together, in which you get Zeus and Dodos. But on the flip, this carries over to now Tontata, or dwarves, having the same sort of naming scheme, as a Dosundata is a unique name given to someone who is both dwarf and human mixed together. So I find that very interesting, and it makes you think, if we get more subspecies of dwarves in the future, or more dwarven mixes, I should say, are they going to be given different names like the giants have been given different names? Like, for example, if you have a mink and a dwarf mixed together, do they get a different name? Or if you have a fishman and a dwarf mixed together, do they get a different name? It's all very interesting how the largest and the smallest races of people in One Piece so far have different titles for different half species of people. I find that very interesting, and we have to wait and see if any of these different sub races have any special abilities. For example, the Buccaneers are supposed to have some sort of hidden ability. Same could be said for the Dosundata or the Zeus and Dodo in the future. We don't know, but it's all very interesting to think about. One other thing that I did notice looking at Charlotte Normandy is that apparently, I don't know if this is a blanket case for every Dosundata or Zeus and Dodo, but they don't seem to have the weird bushy tails of the Tontata. They seem to have the long noses, which is an interesting point, but they don't seem to have the tail. So why is it that the tail seems to be the first thing to go? Now, mind you, a Zeus and Dodo could retain the tail. We don't know that, but it's interesting that if this is true, Charlotte Normandy, from what we've seen of her, doesn't seem to have the signature Tontata tail. So it's weird that the tail is the first thing to go when dwarves mate with different races, apparently. But we'll have to wait and see if there's any more on this in the future. With that being said, give me your thoughts and tell your friends about Polypede. What?